we are giving away a week's worth of lesson plans for those nearly new beginners. So if you have kindergartners or anyone who is not really reading well yet in the early stages and you would like a week of lesson plans, then stay tuned. You're in the right place. I'm Dr. Marnie Ginsberg at Reading Simplified, and we streamline reading instruction at Reading Simplified and at the same time accelerate students' reading achievement. So these lesson plans we're going to be sharing tonight are not just streamlined and make your life easier. They also will move kids into reading faster than most mainstream approaches. So I'm excited to share them with you. When you have a brand new kiddo who doesn't know the letter sounds, then Build It is the perfect introductory lesson to get kids knowledge of the letter sounds, give them knowledge of the alphabetic principle that our written code is our written language is a code for sounds. It helps them with phonemic segmentation, phonemic awareness, left to right tracking, the concept of a word. It does a lot of pre-reading things, including letter sounds and phonemic segmentation. But if a student knows, say, as few as 7 letter sounds, maybe even as little as 5, then you don't need to do Build It anymore, and you should do Switch It instead. And Switch It is a more challenging activity that does the same things as Build It, but it does an additional thing. Because Build It will encourage the child to learn how to phonemically segment, to separate a sound, a word like cat into k, a, t. But Switch It does a higher level activity, the highest level of phonemic awareness, really, phonemic manipulation. So to change cat to cot, which sound do you have to change? To change cat to cot, and then to change it from cot to cod, which sound is that? And so there's a higher level of phonemic processing, and when you push to that higher level of phonemic processing, the child's brain grows, and it's growing in the area that's most important for early reading. Quick, automatic phonemic processing is what gives kids the aha about how the code works and how they can quickly see how sounds and symbols line up. And this is the ticket for you. I will show it to you with a beginner, okay? So this little girl that I'm going to show you is only 4. She knows a few letter sounds, but she's learning the activity Switch It. And I want you to notice what she's learning as she's doing this activity. Again, letter sounds, phonemic segmentation, and phonemic manipulation, how our code works. She's learning basic decoding. She's learning basic spelling. It's pretty powerful. So this is the first activity that I would recommend for most kids who are in kindergarten or who are younger who know some letter sounds. Are you ready?
Build the word rod, like a fishing rod. So we would put sounds down here to make rod. Can you say it when you do it?
Word.
Yes. What's that sound?
Ah.
Yes, raw. What's that last sound?
Duh.
Well done. You made the word
Raw.
like a fishing rod. Have you ever fished? You have? Okay, let's switch it to red, like the color red. You have rod. Let's switch it to red. That's the right switch. That's right. Now what you made was very close. These two sound similar. You made red, and we want red. You see the difference? It's very slight. So let's take that out. What sound goes right here? Do you know what sound you hear when I say red? What's this right here? Yeah, that's right. You got it. Really good. That's the hardest one to switch that one. Okay, let's check the sounds.
Red.
This by itself would be
Red.
like.
Okay, so that was a little girl trying Switch It. Do you see how she was learning letter sounds? She was learning how to segment, and she was also learning how to manipulate sounds. It's kind of hard to figure out what's the difference between rid and red. And that work that she's doing is going to form a strong sound symbol decoding foundation for her on which she can memorize words, become fluent, and just fly as a reader. And it's also very effective in a small group. That's the main setting that I recommend to most of you, or if you're in the classroom. whether you're working with brand new beginning readers or those that know some letter sounds and they're ready for switch it and they're nearly new, then either way you got to do read it and teach the blend as you read strategy. So they've got the word map, but you don't want them to read sound, 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 and then guess the word, because that will trip them up when they get to longer and longer words. And some of them can't even do it with 3 sound words if they have weak phonological memory or little exposure to print and literacy. So let's put those first 2 sounds together, and let's say ah. Maybe if they just can't figure out how to put ah together, then we model it. Okay, well, I hear and say ma. Can you copy me? Ma. And then you lift it up, and the child says map. And that is how you teach blend as you read. So you're getting them to gradually add sounds, blending them from left to right. Even if it's a 4-sound word or 5-sound word, they just keep connecting sounds, not letters, because if it was T-H-A-T, then the first 2 sounds would be the T-H and the A together would be that. So it's not based on letters, it's based on blending sounds together as they go. So those are the first 2 core activities that we're recommending in this series of lesson plans. And let's now get into some of the nitty-gritty about those lesson plans, okay? This, by the way, is just a suggestion. Some kids may be able to go faster, some may need to go slower. But if you have typically developing kids or kids that are kind of close to that, give it a try. They may surprise you. They may be able to do more than you think. So we've got the activity switch it here, and we've got a word list that you can use. And then we've got the activity read it here and a word list. Again, you may not be able to get to all those words. You may not follow this just to the T. Don't worry about following it to the T in the sense of dotting every I and crossing every T by doing each word. It's more important to do the major activities. Get a little bit of switch it, get a little bit of read it, get a little bit of reading and rereading. And if you can't do it all in one day, then balance it out by filling in with what you couldn't do on Monday on Tuesday. So you get this kind of structure in one day or in 2 days. So notice how we're doing more than one vowel. We are going to change not just from map to mad, but also from sad to sat to sit. We always want to switch out the vowels as much as we can. That really challenges their brain and helps them learn the vowels faster, and they're the hardest thing for them to learn by and large. Notice we're also starting with continuant consonants because we're talking about beginners again, and these make it easier to separate sounds. A continuant consonant like there's no end until you run out of breath is different than a T or a C or a P where it's just t. You can't drag out t. So if they start with a continuant consonant, it's easier. This is important for beginners. It makes your job easier in giving them up over the hurdle of figuring out how to do this crazy thing called segmenting and blending. It's especially important when you do read it. Get them started with a word that is like mat or sit or rat. And give them different vowels if you can, and then give them a text to read that is targeting the same sounds you were targeting with your word work. We're doing this for a season, maybe 12 weeks, maybe 24 weeks, but within a short time frame with these activities, these kiddos will be reading real books and they'll be reading authentic literature. They don't have to read these decodable texts very long, but for a short season, this will really escalate their progress. It will allow the transfer. So we're talking about Monday, switch it and read it. Then Tuesday, notice we are actually already adding another short vowel. It is possible. It may not work for every situation, but it can happen in a lot of them. So they're going to switch from hat to hot to hit. And they're going to read a word that has the ah sound like hop. And then notice that our text is in alignment with the word work. We're going to be focusing on the big hit, which is a Starfall short story that has a lot of short I's in it. And that's how the short stories go across the week. So then what do you do? And they're just beginners, and they maybe the first word they've ever read in their whole life, and it was a lot of help from teacher, is the word mat. How are they going to read a book? Well, Then I recommend something that we call buddy reading, where the teacher reads most of the book or a lot of the book, and the students do some of the hard blend as you read work, but mostly the teacher is reading and the students only read a word here or there, maybe one word a page, one word a sentence, and they give them the 3 sound words, maybe with the sounds that they've been focusing on, the M, the S, the P, the T, the A, and the I, and so forth. So that is how you get kids over that hurdle. And then after you've read and they've read, then you reread it again to them, maybe once or twice, and then they have quite a great opportunity to have learned some words in that exposure. And they're feeling super confident because they read a book. So that is how we think that it's possible to do this bold thing, whether you've got brand new readers, which was last week's session, or you've got nearly new readers. Either way, you can just kind of gently shove them along into print by modeling most of it and doing most of the work yourself and just having them do some of the work.